the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. It's a shrine to the game's greatest. The NFC Hall of Fame game as the Los Angeles Raiders meet the Green Bay Packers. Both teams will be getting their first real look at some big-name acquisitions. Jeff Hostetler is the Raiders' new hope at quarterback, but the Packers landed the big prize in the offseason free agent market, defensive end Reggie White. And at halftime, you will meet pro football's newest inductees into the Hall of Fame. Dan Fouts, a great quarterback of the San Diego Chargers. Larry Little, the six-time All-Pro guard from the Miami Dolphins. Chuck Noll, who coached the Pittsburgh Steelers to 4 Super Bowl titles. Walter Payton, the NFL's all-time leading rusher. And Bill Walsh, the man who won 3 Super Bowls as the 49ers coach. The Raiders and the Packers in the Hall of Fame game on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport. The thrill of victory. And the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Hi, everyone. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorff, and welcome to the 24th season of Monday Night Football, which traditionally begins on a Saturday afternoon in Canton, Ohio. And once again, we are here at a high school field, Fawcett Stadium, right next to the Hall of Fame. And this year, it's the Green Bay Packers against the Los Angeles Raiders on a perfect day, temperature 79 degrees, low humidity. And as we look at Reggie White, gents, great to be back.
Good to be back, Al, and what a beautiful day it is here in Dan's hometown.
And I think the happiest people in this stadium are the members of the Los Angeles Raiders, who just came here to Canton, Ohio after having spent 3 days, in 2 days with the Dallas Cowboys down in Austin, Texas, where the temperature was in the high 90s every day, and they are delighted to be in Ohio. They're extolling the virtues of the town right now. They're the best representatives of the Chamber of Commerce.
So the preseason already underway last night at the Silver Dome. The Detroit Lions beat the Buffalo Bills 14-7. This is the first of 5 preseason games for each of these teams. And the Raiders, sporting a new look, especially offensively this year, send Gaston Green along with Alexander Wright back to receive, and that's Chris Jackie, one of the top kickers in the NFL, to put it in the air for Green Bay, and we're underway from Canton, Ohio. A line drive kick, which is misjudged by Green as it goes through the end zone for a touchback. And so the Los Angeles Raiders, with their new offensive look, will take over at the 20-yard line. Jay Schrader is gone, and taking his spot is the #1 quarterback, Jeff Hostetler. Several seasons with the Giants, led them to their Super Bowl triumph following the 1990 season against Buffalo. They've got Steve Smith back as the blocking back. Nick Bell is the new featured back. Wright and Brown are the wideouts, and Ethan Horton is the tight end. 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line with Tim Brown, the one-time Heisman Trophy winner, in motion. Brown makes the catch and slips down at the 24-yard line. After a gain of 4, it'll be 2nd and 6. Good offensive line for the Raiders, fully ripened and mature, and bolstered this year by the acquisition of number 71, Gerald Perry, the former Bronco and Ram, at left tackle. Wisniewski becoming a Pro Bowl regular. Mosbar, Montoya, and Wilkerson. A good interior 5. It is 2nd and 6 at the 24-yard line. That's Bell in motion, and they give it to Smith, and he picks up a yard, takes it to the 25-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 5. Now let's take a look at the revamped Green Bay defense. The plum, of course, Reggie White. the most sought after of the free agents. Then Bill Moss, the longtime former Chief, is in the middle with Brady, Noble, Kuntz, and Pop, the linebackers. Tony Bennett still holding out. Buckley and Mitchell at the corners. Butler and Pryor are the safeties. They lost Chuck Cecil. He went to Phoenix, picked up Pryor from Indianapolis, and we'll take a look at a good-looking rookie today in George Teague, one of their 2 #1 draft choices. Brown in motion, 3rd down and 5, and Hostetler throws it incomplete up at the 45-yard line, intended for Alexander Wright, who had broken off the pattern. The pass not even close, and the Raiders are forced to kick.
Well, I think this time of year you're going to see a lot of timings, no matter whether it's on offense or defense. You saw the Green Bay Packers down in the down 4 in the pass rush. That gives Reggie White the outside look that he's so used to at Philadelphia. As Brooks, outstanding receiver, drops for Green Bay.
Jeff Gossett to punt for the Raiders. Normally we'd see Terrell Buckley running back punts for Green Bay, but he has a dislocated finger, so they have relieved him of those duties today. Good kick by Gossett. Brooks fields it at the 22-yard line and gets a block and takes it back to the 29. It's a 7-yard return, and Green Bay takes over at the 29-yard line after Mike Jones makes the tackle. 54-yard kick by Gossett. Brett Favre, originally picked by Atlanta, then sent to Green Bay last year, took over in Game 3 when Don Majkowski got hurt, wound up in the Pro Bowl. And Mike Holmgren, the coach, says he's the real deal. John Stevens is the former Patriot. Edgar Bennett is the fullback. Brooks and Sterling Sharp have caught 108 passes. Harris, the tight end. And up front, Ilkin is the former Steeler. They lost Tootie Robbins to the Saints. Ilkin at 1 tackle. Ken Rutgers, who'd normally be the other tackle, is still a holdout. And on 1st down, Favre's first pass is incomplete through the hands of Brooks. It'll be 2nd and 10. The Raiders defensively are -1 stalwart. Howie Long has a contract but wants it renegotiated, so he is not in camp. Bruce, Broughton, Harrison, and Townsend, the front 4. Wallace, Bell, and Moss are the linebackers. Then you've got McDaniel and Washington, a good pair of corners. Ronnie Lott opted to sign with the Jets. Hoskins and Anderson start at safeties, though their #1 pick was Patrick Bates from Texas A&M, and we'll see a lot of him today. 2nd and 10 at the 28-yard line. Early first quarter. Favre to throw again, and this pass is too high. Intended for Sterling Sharp, who set an NFL record last year with 108 receptions. Mistiming there, 3rd down.
I think that was the zig when he should have zagged. It appears that Sterling Sharp made his break opposite the thinking of his quarterback, Brett Favre. There goes Sharp to the outside, and that ball another 3-4 yards back to the inside. And luckily the defender was playing Sharp and not the footballer. That might have been a touchdown for Los Angeles.
3rd and 10. Mark Clayton is in the slot wearing number 37, the longtime Dolphin receiver. And Favre throwing into double coverage. Incomplete, intended for Sharp. Eddie Anderson and Terry McDaniel are there. So Favre starts 0 for 3, and the Packers are 3 and out.
Guess we're going to have to get used to it. Mark Clayton playing for the Green Bay Packers. Reggie White, Green Bay. Hostetler with the Raiders. That's the kind of year with the new free agency we are going to be having all year long.
Saw there, Sharp didn't even expect the football. He wasn't even looking back at his quarterback when the football was there.
Brian Wagner's kick, a fair catch is signaled for by Coley and McCallum at the 30-yard line. And that's where the Raiders will begin drive number 2 after a 42-yard punt. 2:03 into the game, 0-0 in Tampa. Well, gents, it's a 3-man booth, but today it's going to be about an 8- or 9-man booth because all of the new inductees, as usual, will pay a visit, and it always makes this a very special telecast.
Great collection, too. 5 of them, of course, headed by I think Walter Payton, of course, one of the great ones. Dan Faust, Larry Little for the offensive line, of course, and two great coaches, Chuck Noll and Bill Walsh.
And we space them out during the course of the afternoon. I guess Walter Payton will be with us in the first half, and we'll be bringing them, and we'll keep them up here for a while because they're interesting and fascinating guys. And you know what? We get a chance here to see two teams that almost certainly are going to be better in 1993 than they were in 92. That's kind of an added bonus.
If the Raiders are going to be better, that man who carried the ball, Nick Bell, is going to have to pick up a lot of the slack. Number 38, because Marcus Allen is gone, Eric Dickerson is gone, and Art Shell says it is his time, Nick Bell's time, out of Iowa.
Could be, but when could you ever imagine a team would let three future Hall of Famers go? You left out, of course, Ronnie Lott. There's no question about his role here in Canton someday. And most certainly Eric Dickerson, Marcus Allen. And that they're gone.
From the 31, Hostetler throwing it out, caught by Steve Smith, who's a good receiver. And Smith is tackled at the 37-yard line by Jeff Brady. And that'll set up a 3rd and 4 for the Raiders at their own 37-yard line.
You talk about those three players, Frank. Ronnie Lott was still an effective performer. For whatever reason, Marcus Allen was not going to be back with the Raiders this year, and certainly some of his comments last year cemented that. And Eric Dickerson really wasn't effective for the Raiders. The addition, though, I think, of Jeff Hostetler is the best thing that has happened to the Raiders organization in a long time. He does a lot of the things they really like. Best of all, he doesn't throw interceptions.
3rd and 4, and that's incomplete, and they look for a flag, and they get it, because Alexander Wright was wrapped up by George Teague. So Wright, the speedster, is tackled before it gets there by George Teague, one of 2 #1 draft choices, the rookie from the national champion Alabama Crimson Tide.
But Green Bay took a defensive cornerback as #1 pick the year before that. That's just good coverage, but he did get that right arm in there a little early. Dan, you're so right about Hostetler. He is not an interception thrower. As we look at Mike Holmgren, his offense is such that it doesn't allow his quarterback to throw interceptions. Much like the 49ers and Joe Montana, but Hostetler only 3 interceptions for the Giants a year ago. That's really remarkable on a team that wasn't a great football team.
Sean Patterson, Steve Wisniewski involved in that contact, and the referee is Tom White. And the first penalty, or the second penalty of the game following the interference
Number
call.
71 and 76 on the offense, moving prior to the snap. Still 1st down.
Against the Raiders.
The offense,
Wisniewski and Perry.
You can see why they need that offense. 2 years ago, this was a Raider team that won the division. They were 12 and 4, and then they went 9 and 7. Or 3 years ago, they went 9 and 7. 2 years ago, and last year they went 7 and 9. And they were going downhill fast. And Al Davis, his people decided to turn it all around. They did just that. They started moving people around.
An offensive line with a lot of veteran players sometimes reacts to a quarterback differently. Now, the first time was against the Raiders. The second time it looks like it's going against Green Bay. But Jeff Hostetler has a wonderful hard count. And here's a good illustration of how he gets the Packers to jump. You see, look at the inflection you could almost see the shoulder flinch by Hostetler, and that brings Reggie White all the way across the line of scrimmage. It takes a while. Keep in mind, again, this is still just the 31st of July.
We were back whence we came, but we've got another penalty again as Nick Bell carries out to the 47-yard line.
I think Bill Moss wins that one. He wins that trophy for being across. I believe he was in the neutral zone at the snap of the pigskin.
Offsides. Number 77 defense. 5 yards. Still 1st down.
We've now had penalties on 4 consecutive plays.
Now, the quarterback is not allowed to move, but you can look at the sheer force, and that will not draw a penalty, but it's an indication of how hard Jeff Hostetler is barking the signals, and the sheer velocity of his wind and throat and voice is just willing those defensive linemen across. He's saying, come to me, and they are.
He knows he's only going to play a short time, Dan. I think he couldn't do that the entire game. He'd lose his voice.
He might. He's liable to lose his head if he keeps drawing these guys off sides.
Reggie White waiting to get into the thick of action. He's not going to play very much today in a game such as this one.
Well, at least the entire first game will play the entire first half. Jeff Hostetler will be in there right up to halftime.
Good day to do it, too. Low humidity and not warm.
1st and 5, which is just across midfield, and it's Nick Bell taking it to the 48-yard line. 11:25 to go in the first quarter with no score. Packers last year 9-7, and since they play in the relatively weak NFC Central, they are the consensus choice to win it this year. And I guess unofficially, the Raiders would probably be a consensus 4th place choice in the much tougher AFC West behind San Diego, Kansas City, and Denver.
The AFC West is really, I think, in a position to make serious noise about being by far and away the toughest division in the AFC and even challenging the NFC East.
On 2nd and 4, that's off the hands of Tim Brown, the normally sure-handed receiver. He was covered by Buckley, and it'll make it 3rd down and 4.
And reinforcing what you said, Al, about Green Bay in the NFC Central, they had won 6 in a row going into Minnesota at the end of last season. Had they been able to pull that one off, they would have won the division, gone into the playoffs. They lost to Minnesota, of course, and they don't need a whole lot more as we look once again at a pass thrown a little behind and a little too hot to be handled by Brown, but they don't need much more in that Central Division of the NFC. And they may have put it together with the likes of Reggie White, another #1 draft pick at the corner. Wayne Simmons, another #1 draft pick, should be back at linebacker by the start of the season. He recently had arthroscopic surgery on his knee.
3rd down and 4. Hostetler, a very mobile quarterback, but no place to go here. Runs into his own man, Perry, and is tackled by Bryce Pop, number 95. And the Raiders come up short and are forced to kick again.
Frank, your opinion here. Did Jeff have to leave as quickly as he did? It looked like it was pretty solid pass protection by the Raiders, and Jeff, looking to make something happen, came out of there a little early. At least that's my initial reaction.
He has a lot of confidence in his ability to run. As you well know, he is a good scrambler, and the Raiders haven't had that for some time. He is a good runner with a lot of speed, a lot of quickness, and sometimes he'll come out a little early. And many times he'll make it pay off. That time he didn't. He likes to move out of there.
Jeff Gossett, line of scrimmage is the Raider 47-yard line. And he angles this one toward the near sideline, but it slips into the end zone. And thus it will come out to the 20-yard line. 52-yard punt, but a 32-yard net. 10:06 left first quarter. Raiders nothing. Packers 10. From RFK Stadium, it'll be the preseason opener for each of those teams. It's a week from Monday.
And first game for Richie Pettibone as finally as a head coach in the NFL.
The Green Bay Packers at their own 20-yard line, and their first running play is an 11-yard gain up the middle by John Stevens, who had a terrific rookie year with the New England Patriots, but it's been a case of diminishing returns for him. So he's come over now, he gets a new start with Green Bay, and if he has a big year, that's going to really help the Packers.
He did, he had over 1,000-yard season in that rookie year, but Green Bay has gone downhill, and he should get some kind of courage award for surviving up there.
And he'll also get 2,000 yards this year if he gets blocking like that on every play.
Stevens again, and again the blocking is good, and he picks up about 7 up to the 38-yard line.
2,500 yards.
Yes.
It's going up.
Eddie Anderson, the safety, comes up to make the tackle.
Patriots,
that
was the team to be a part of.
The courage award should go to anyone carrying the ball for them.
2nd and 4, here's Edgar Bennett, and Bennett works his way up to the 45-yard line for a first down. Bennett can play fullback or halfback, second-year man out of Florida State, and he too has been very impressive according to Mike Holmgren in camp thus far.
Mike would like, of course, is to get back to how it was in San Francisco, get two backs, a two-back offense, both of them who could catch the ball, a la Roger Craig and, of course, Tom Rathman. They're hard to find, but he would like to get to that. He has a great tight end in Jackie Harris, like the 49ers had and has in Brent Jones, and he has a great wide receiver in Sterling Sharp, and hopefully one coming on in Robert Brooks.
Good timing pass to Sterling Sharp across midfield. He takes it to the 47 of the Raiders. That's a gain of 8, tackled by Anderson and Washington.
That's a pass route that's really indicative of Sterling Sharp and what he can do. He is not a sideline receiver. He's not only comfortable, but really anticipates this type of a pattern where he knows he's going to get hit. One of the finest after the catch runners of all the receivers in the National Football League. That 13.5-yard average, a lot of that comes after catching 3- and 4-yard passes.
Here's Stevens. This time the blocking is not there. No gain. Runs into big number 97, Willie Broughton. And it will be 3rd down and 2 for the Packers with 7:20 left in a scoreless first quarter in Canton, Ohio.
And you know, Sterling Sharp, Dan and Al, has really benefited from Jackie Harris. As you mentioned, Dan, nobody's even heard of this Jackie Harris, but he is a great tight end, and he's had 55 receptions on his own, but he works a la Brent Jones and Jerry Rice with the 49ers with Sharp. They are a great combination together.
3rd and 2. Good protection for Favre, and he cracks one right over the middle. And it's a first down for the Packers. Anthony Smith making the tackle on Sterling Sharp.
And a good look at the Mike Holmgren, Bill Walsh type of possession passing offense.
With Joe Montana there now, and you see it spreading throughout the league. A very safe offense, using the pass just as safely as you could use the run. Or the run as safely as you did the pass.
Favre over the middle, and it's incomplete. Jackie Harris never had possession. Very close. Derek Hoskins hit him just as the ball got there and wrenched it loose.
Yes, he wrenched it loose with about a 40-pound wrench. That was not Mr. Good Wrench, that was Mr. Big Wrench, right in the side. That's what you want your strong safety to do when he closes on a potential receiver. That is a sure reception by Harris, if not for the big hit by Derek Hoskins.
Of course, they're looking for that position, the Raiders are. That's the position where Ronnie Lott has been for the past few years. He's moved on to the Jets. Good hit by Hoskins and well played.
Second down, Favre drops one off to a secondary receiver. This is Stevens. He works his way to the 36-yard line, about 4 yards shy of the first. Again, Anthony Smith makes the tackle with 5:50 to go. First quarter, no score. Here's Tunch Ilkin, the longtime former Pittsburgh Steeler, now in his 14th season, as they have tried to improve up front offensively, the interior 5, and they'll have to withstand, of course, the loss of a real good tackle in Tootie Robbins, Dan.
Yeah, Tootie took the free agent route and went to New Orleans after playing most of his career with the Cardinals, first in St. Louis and then in Phoenix. And as we all know, the left tackle position so critical.
On 3rd down and 4. The catch is made by Stevens. He has a first down, takes it to the Raider 21-yard line. The Green Bay Packers were 3 and out in a 22nd first drive, and now they put everything together on their second drive.
The Packers are making it look on this drive.
From the 21-yard line on the delay, this is Stevens. That doesn't fool anybody. The ball is loose, and the Raiders have recovered. Aaron Wallace, number 51, comes up with the football. Anthony Smith, who already had a couple of tackles on this drive, is the man who dislodged it.
A play with nowhere to go. You could see that it was disruption by the Raiders. The penetration disrupted the play, and then the strong knockout and Raider football.
The Raiders and Packers remain scoreless. That long and efficient Green Bay drive comes to a halt on a fumble, and the Raiders take over at the 23, and Hostetler's pass is caught by Alexander Wright near the first down marker up at the 33-yard line. Roland Mitchell making the tackle. Wright has tremendous speed. He used to be with the Cowboys. The Raiders love guys with that straight line speed. He's got it. The question is, can he run his routes, and can he hold on to the football?
NFL's fastest man for the second time last June. He runs a 4.140, and you can see that Roland Mitchell laying way off. He was in individual coverage and respecting the speed, and a well thrown by Hostetler's part. Got it right on the break.
2nd and 1 at the 33-yard line. And here's Nick Bell, and he picks up the first down. Up to the 37, and a marker is down back at the 26. Raiders, as always, those speedy receivers. Willie Gault is back and Tim Brown is back. And if you're wondering about Rocket Ismail, they have the rights to him. He's played 2 years with Toronto in the Canadian League, but they've yet to come to an agreement with him. But he's still out there and probably will wind up in camp at some point.
And what will be interesting here, as we listen to Tom White tell us it's holding against the Raiders,
Yards.
is how will Jeff Hostetler adjust to that type of speed? It's not something he's accustomed to, and it's not the type of passing attack that the Raiders in our show would like to use, that downfield, if you will, vertical passing game. It's not really something that Hostetler has ever done before, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he adjusts to this new style and tempo of passing attack.
He does have a big arm. Second and 11 out of the 22. He swings this one out to Steve Smith. And it's a minimal gain up to the 25-yard line. Jeff Brady makes the tackle. It'll be 3rd down and 9.
I don't know if that's a pass or a lateral. That was very close to being a lateral.
And interesting, under a new rule this year, backward pass can be not only recovered, it can be advanced.
You were listening yesterday afternoon when we went through
Yes, I
it.
was.
Good job, Frank.
I think it's a good rule.
Well, it's certainly an exciting rule. It keeps the officials from having to explain to the fans how come this guy that picked up this loose ball and ran it all the way into the end zone now has to bring it back and put it down.
3rd and 9 from the 25. 2.5 minutes left in the first quarter with no score. Hostetler under pressure. Down he goes. That's Sean Patterson making the tackle. Getting the sack. The 6th-year man, Arizona State. And he's playing because they are still minus Matt Brock, who would normally be the starter at that position.
Line stunts have. That's a little harder to do from an offensive line perspective. Picking that up.
Gossage kick.
Uh-oh.
And that's not a good one. The line of scrimmage was the 15, and it bounces out at the 44. That's a 29-yard kick. And it will set Green Bay up.
I can
at
do
the
that.
44, but there is a marker down.
I can do that with a 9-iron.
I hope you can.
I think that's called
Yeah,
leaving that.
so it's a 29-yard 9-iron.
No, I think it's called leaving the club face open and shanking it to the right.
Tom White will tell us in a second about the guilty party.
Ineligible member of the kicking team, number 53, downfield. The penalty is declined. Green Bay will take the result of the play. Timeout.
That was Glenn Young, and timeout with 1:57 to go. First quarter. We'll be visiting with Chuck Noll when we come back. Joining us in the booth here as the Green Bay Packers take over at the Raider 44-yard line. 1st and 10, no score late in the first quarter, and Brett Favre throws incomplete. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Chuck, I know that, and I'm sure all people realize how all-consuming a job being a head coach in the National Football League can be. How are you adjusting to really walking away from the game? You talk about cold turkey.
Well, I'll tell you, it's been really a very busy time for us. We're involved in a lot of things. With the Greater Pittsburgh Guild for the Blind, there are a lot of fundraising things going on. I'm on the board for the University of Dayton, and you know, it's been one of those things where I haven't had a chance to miss football.
Any chance at all of ever going back?
I doubt it.
Kind of been a bit of an ambassador, too, though, for the NFL overseas, right, Chuck?
Well, we did a few clinics last February in Frankfurt, Germany, and then Manchester, England, Birmingham, Glasgow, and the response was great. We had people that are really interested in football over there, and I was really surprised.
Chuck Noll, well-deserved. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Again, Chuck.
In the Hall of Fame.
Certainly deserved, and our congratulations.
Thank you.
Real happy for you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Chuck Noll, 4 Super Bowl wins, turned a franchise around that had just about hit rock bottom, and
Al,
he took over.
And Al, I will never get over the fact that he was never the consensus NFL Coach of the Year in his entire career with the Steelers.
I think that could have been a reflection of the great players he put together, Dan. And people, when he started winning Super Bowls, he was doing it with Joe Greens, and I agree with you, Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris. And,
I'm not casting blame at anyone. I'm just saying it's just
wondered
very
if that could
interesting.
be one of the reasons. You know, the people looked at that great talent and said, well, if he doesn't, he should.
Well,
and he was never one that really shouted his own praise in any way.
Well, and they did have some talent too, didn't they? Defensively, Awesome.
We've seen 3 incomplete passes, but a
Line up in
penalty
the neutral zone, 5 yards, still third down.
against the Raiders maintains possession for Green Bay. You know, we've talked about it, gents, through the years, what goes into making Coach of the Year. And very often it's the coach who exceeds the expectations most of all. You know, it's almost a case of if Noel didn't win it the first time he won the Super Bowl, that was it, because after that they expected the Steelers to be good. And speaking of coaches, well, you've got Dan Fouts, and there's Noel and Bill Walsh, camera left of Chuck, along with Jerry Seaman, the head of officials in the league. Favre on third down, hits sharp, and he's able to hold on to the back of the ball, maintain possession, and pick up the first down, tackled by McDaniel.
And Sterling wants a flag for being hit after he was already on the ground.
Boy, it's a good look at the quickness of that release on the part of Favre. A lot of people haven't seen that much of him last year when he came in the third game, replaced Magic for Green Bay and had an absolutely unbelievable Pro Bowl season. But he was a second-round pick for Atlanta. Green Bay knew he must have been good, even though he was 0 for 5 in his rookie year. They gave it first for him, but you saw it there. What a quick release. He fits into Mike Holmgren's offense perfectly.
On first down, flags all over the joint after a 5-yard pickup by John Stevens.
That's one of those things where I guess everybody at the time thought it was working out well. Atlanta drafted Favre with a second-round choice, traded him for a number 1, so they doubled their money almost in the trade, and Green Bay couldn't have worked out much better for
Holding,
them.
number 76 offense, 10 yards, still first down.
And he became expendable
In Glanville's estimation, quarterback rich.
First and 20 at the 40-yard line. The play fake and then the pass caught by Bennett. He takes it to the 33. That's a gain of 7. It'll be second down and 13 with 25 ticks left in the first quarter. Nothing in Canton. Ken O'Brien, the longtime Jet. Now the backup, the insurance for Favre.
Got him very cheap too, a 4th-round draft pick, I believe. That's he's had some great years with the Jets, with some very weak football teams.
And that will be the end of a scoreless first quarter in Canton. We'll be back with the Hall of Fame game after this commercial and a word from the National Football League. We start the second quarter, 2nd and 14. Green Bay at the Raider 33-yard line. Brett Favre gets sacked back at the 41-yard line. Chester McLaughlin, the first guy to make contact, and then Anthony Smith to finish him off.
McLaughlin, one of 15 first-round draft picks on the roster of the Green Bay, or rather the Raiders. About half of them drafted by the Raiders. The others coming from various teams, but he was a Raider pick last year, and they're expecting big things of him. 300-pounder out of Clemson.
It is third down and 22. Gunther Cunningham working with the Raiders defensively, looking on. Favre on 3rd and long, throws it out to Bennett. Great move, great slip move. And he gets to the 27-yard line, still short of the first down, but he sets up an easier field goal attempt for Chris Jackie with that move.
And Edgar Bennett put Torrin Dorn on the ground. I'm not so sure if it was a great move or if Torrin lost his footing on his own. The grass is very long here. Watch this little shake, and that's it. Overcommitment to the outside by Dorn. And Frank touched on it earlier, the vital role played by Green Bay's fullbacks in the receiving game. And Edgar Bennett showing that he knows a little something about what to do when he's out in wide open spaces.
Chris Jackie, one of the more underappreciated kickers in the league, has to take a timeout. They don't have the right alignment up there, and the play clock had gone down to 2. So when we come back, Jackie will try to make it 3-0 Green Bay. Washington, we have no score. 13:38 left in the first half, and Chris Jackie will attempt a 45-yard field goal.
These daytime games are tough. We're creatures of the night.
Yeah.
This bright sunlight is a little much.
Wagner blocked the holder, and it's solidly blocked. And the Raiders will take over at the 30-yard line. That was Derek Hoskins, along with Elvis Patterson.
Well, Patterson's high-fiving everybody, but I agree with you, Al. I think Hoskins got it. He split the wing. He came off of the left side of the Green Bay formation. And I thought it was Hoskins as well that actually got the ball.
Hoskins is trying to hold off Bates, the rookie, and win the strong safety job vacated by Ronnie Lott.
Patterson went to the outside, Hoskins went to the inside, and Hoskins got it right there. Good work off the left side. Of course, Elvis Patterson for years has been one of the NFL's best special teams players. And that time Hoskins got the block.
He's made his presence felt defensively and on special teams. And Hostetler retreats on first down, and the pass is incomplete and nearly picked off by Pryor. James Jett could only get a hand on it, and he is about as appropriately named as anybody in the league because he has world-class speed. There's no way a James Jett could be a possession receiver. No way.
No way it could be a guard either.
There's some pretty short arms right here coming across that middle. He knew he was going to get into major traffic. He's just going to suck it up a little bit here. I'll live to play another day.
Those are the last times I saw arms that short was in Jurassic Park. They were on a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Second and 10. Gaston Green is in the game, number 22. And the pass is complete, but really to no avail as Ethan Horton makes the catch and winds up costing him a yard. Leroy Butler in on the tackle.
Well, every time you look down at one of the receivers on this Raider team, and you wonder why there'd be a threat in Atlanta in '96. They have got some speed.
Well, we talked about Gold, and we talked about Tim Brown, Jett, also Sam Grady.
What do we got? 3 gold medalists in that on that team? It's remarkable the speed the Raiders are accumulating. Of course, nothing new either.
Third down and 10. And, well, it's one thing to have speed, but it's another thing to catch the football. And Jets had 2 opportunities and has had engine failure on each.
You got to look that one into your hands. You can't,
Flame out.
That ball had a lot on it for a receiver. You got to handle that with your hands. That was a well-thrown ball by Hostetler. You got to catch that one. You take that into the body, the shoulder pads, you're having a hard time controlling it.
Now there's another man. He's no longer a speed burner, but James Lofton back with the Raiders. Spent several seasons, of course, with Green Bay, then the Raiders, and then when everybody thought he was washed up, 4 great years with Buffalo.
Still Green Bay's all-time leading receiver with 580-some receptions and the leader of the Packers all-time in yardage.
On 4th and 10, good high deep kick by Gossett. Fielding it at the 18-yard line is Robert Brooks, and he dances his way back to the 26. We have 12:26 remaining. It remains scoreless in Canton, and now it's time for our regular feature on what's new in the world of sports science and technology.
CBS, the first Super Bowl, you're with NBC simulcast, working the Green Bay Packers and Kansas City Chiefs.
You were down in the field. You and Crispin went down there before the game and fighting to interview Lombardi, weren't you?
Indeed we were.
1967.
Exactly.
First Super Bowl, about 60,000 people there that day.
It wasn't sold out.
Green Bay, sure.
Yeah, no happenings, no big parties, and it was
kind of fun.
Yeah, it took about 2 or 3 of them to get it going.
Kurt, I know you hate this when people who are younger say this, but I grew up listening to you call various events. What was your first televised sporting assignment? What year?
Pretty good run there.
That's Ken O'Brien, by the way. That's a play-by-play guy. I love it.
No, that was more. That was analysis. Pretty good run there. For O'Brien, it was an unbelievable run.
I always want to do color, you know. First assignment. You mean in
the television business? What year did you first start?
Well, we started. I used to do the NCAA football for NBC in the mid-50s, and then ABC got the college game of the week in 60 and 61, and then Paul Crispin and I moved into the AFL.
The technological advances that you've seen over the years must be mind-boggling.
The first instant replay I ever saw, we didn't have it. We isolated on Lance Allworth, and they never threw him the ball for about 9 plays, and all you saw was Lance Allworth run down the field. They were way ahead, and we experimented with it, but it was a bust. A real bust.
Well, they perfected it.
Yeah, that's right.
O'Brien just hit Holland on the last play. That's a first down. Kurt, you've done multiple World Series, multiple Super Bowls,
American
Final Four,
sportsman,
American sportsman, multiple Olympics, and now you're an author as well.
Yeah, I just wrote a new book called Seasons to Remember. Thanks for leading me into that.
Yeah.
And
You know how to take a segue, don't you?
yeah, let's watch this. Ooh, boy,
Marcus Wilson, number 29.
he was banged up. Yep. But the subtitle is The Way It Was in American Sports, 1945 to 1960. This was the innocent days of sports. Frank knew that era very well, and Dan, you were a little later. But that was, the players were bound. They couldn't move around. No free agency. There wasn't. The radio was bigger than television in the late 40s, and I tried to capture those days. And with Ted Williams and DiMaggio and the start of the Celtic dynasty and Oklahoma's great football run down at Norman and Blanchard and Davis.
What do you think of?
Oh, intercepted.
O'Brien's pass was deflected and picked off.
That's Anthony Smith,
Number 94, and he almost gets in, but he's knocked out of bounds at the 3-yard line.
Well, let's see if we've perfected the instant replay. A little better than Lance Allworth going down the field. That's Anthony Smith, their former #1 draft choice, and a defensive lineman's dream come true. The ball's deflected at the line of scrimmage. Let's see who gets it. Oh, it actually hits the receiver. It bounces off the hand of the receiver right to Anthony Smith. And ka-chung, ka-chung, ka-chung. Hey, pretty doggone good hustle. Was that Galbraith that got him?
That's a major lumber by a big man.
Hey, that's Harry Galbraith that came all the way across the field, was it not?
I think it was Joe Sims.
Joe Sims?
Third-year tackle out of
couldn't see it
Nebraska.
enough.
Yep. Anthony Smith, he's trying to pick up more playing time, used for the most part in pass rush situations. At the 2-yard line on first down, this is Gaston Green, and he can't get in. Second and goal, Bethune makes the tackle. Kurt, congratulations, sir. It's always great to see you. And
Thank you, Al.
We've got an early plane to catch. You'll come back in and do the last part of the fourth.
Okay, Frank, thank you.
Great to see you as always.
Dan,
Kurt.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Proud to be standing here with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kurt Gowdy, great man, and of course everyone in this booth has had the opportunity to work with Kurt Gowdy Jr. for years, one of our top producers at ABC Sports, coordinating producer of Wide World. Wife Jerry, great family. Hostetler on second down, throws to the back of the end zone, touchdown. John Duff, number 84, pulled it in. The official took a second look to make sure he was down in the end zone, and the Raiders are on the board.
You're going to see a lot of that with the Raiders this year with Hostetler. The rollout on a third down on a goal line situation. It gives him an option. I mentioned earlier he is an excellent runner with a lot of speed. You get him to the outside, he can read the defense well. He would just as soon pull that ball down and run the ball into the end zone, and he's capable of doing it. And it'll be an integral part of Art Shell's offense this year.
John Duff, number 3 on the depth chart at tight end. This is Billy Joe Hobart kicking the extra point and missing it. Jeff Jaeger has a calf injury. He would normally do the kicking. Hobart is the former quarterback from Washington, 3rd-round pick who picked in high school, but he's 0 for 1 as a pro. Have to normally do the place kicking, but a calf injury means that Billy Joe Hobart, the quarterback from the University of Washington, who did kick off as a freshman for the Huskies, kicks off, and that's a great kick for a backup place kicker. He sends one a yard deep into the end zone, down there by Edgar Bennett.
That tells you what
impressive.
they feel about Jaeger, though, doesn't it, too, Al?
Yeah.
They don't even have any other kickers here.
And Pacific. Packers at the 20. Well, we had Kurt Gowdy up here. We've talked to Chuck Noll. Walter Payton will be in the booth before the half. We also, I think, want to acknowledge the winner of the Dick McCann Memorial Award, which goes to a sports writer every year. Ira Miller of the San Francisco Chronicle, one of the very finest of the pro football writers through the years, has won that award, and we congratulate Ira. Ken O'Brien on first down throws as he gets flushed out of the pocket and incomplete, and it's 2nd down and 10.
Being chased again by Chester the molester. Chester McLaughlin is making his rather large body a customary feature in the Green Bay backfield.
Ken O'Brien last year, remember, lost his starting job to Browning Nagel at the beginning of the season. Wound up throwing for 5 touchdowns, had 6 picked off, and it's the perfect kind of a backup in this situation with Favre in. And then if he were to go down, at least you've got somebody with a lot of experience. Holmgren can go with him, and then we'll find out about the number 3 quarterback, where you've got Mark Brunell battling it out with Ty Detmer. The catch is made by Ron Lewis, former 49er who's just signed within the past few days and got into camp, and he picks up 20 and a first down.
Lewis, a 3rd-round pick of the 49ers when Mike Holmgren was there back in 1990. Waived midseason last year, and Mike Holmgren, familiar with him, picked him up. And they are looking for that other receiver to complement Sterling Sharp.
Talked about Detmer. There he is on the left. He won the Heisman Trophy, you'll recall, at Brigham Young. And number 8 was Mark Brunell. O'Brien. Wide open, making the catch is Jamie Holland, and the former Raider takes it all the way down to the 13-yard line, tackled by Dan Land.
And of course, Holland gets a big hand here in Canton, Ohio. He played for the Buckeyes down in Columbus.
And you saw the perfect arm. When you give Kenny O'Brien time to throw the football, he is one of the best pure passers around. Just right in stride, he hits Holland, and Holland takes it down inside the 15. But a perfectly thrown ball, you protect Kenny O'Brien, and he can kill you.
Well, a lot of quarterbacks will drill you when you cover like that. Dan Land, number 25, had the initial coverage, and he acted like he was going to get help quicker than he actually did. He almost turned Holland loose.
First down after that 47-yard pickup. The pass is a little underthrown and off the hands of John Stevens, who has a word or two for Mike Jones. The score is 6-0 Los Angeles, and yet in total offense, the Packers up and down the field for 162 yards, and the Raiders, whose touchdown was set up by the long interception run back by Anthony Smith, with just 11. O'Brien is now 3 of 6 for 75 yards. At 2nd and 10, we have 7:19 remaining in the first half. O'Brien, and he gets sacked by Andre Bruce.
Unfortunately for Kenny, not a new experience. Ken O'Brien never enjoyed great protection when he was quarterbacking the New York Jets, and his frequent trips to the turf were well documented by the New York media. And he's a very deliberate quarterback, Frank, in the sense that he likes to take a long look downfield, and a lot of times that ends up in a sack.
And like Hostetler, as you mentioned earlier in the game, he has not thrown a lot of interceptions in his career, but he has been sacked right up there with the most.
3rd and 17. O'Brien nearly gets sacked again, and the pass is underthrown and incomplete, and a flag goes down.
Well, Anthony Smith made that happen. Whoa, he came in from the left side, and I believe he was going against Earl Dotson, and he just crushed him. I want to double check to make sure that was Dotson before I...
Tripping, number 72 in Green Bay. That penalty is declined. The result of the play will be 4th down.
Watch the right side. Watch this power rush by Anthony Smith. Just knocks Dotson backwards, and then Dotson gets called for tripping right there, and I don't see where that comes into play whatsoever. I think that's a preseason throw by the official on the sideline. That was, let's not get distracted by the penalty. That was a superior pass rushing move by Anthony Smith.
Chris Jackie, who had a 45-yard attempt blocked, will attempt a 38-yarder here. Wagner to put it down at the 28-yard line. He gets this one up, and it is no good. Sends it wide to the left.
Well, one wide left and one blocked. Let's go back. Kenny Wolf, our producer, is going to give us another look at it. There's Dotson working on Smith, and inadvertently steps on his Tootsie. That stuff happens, guys.
That's a Tootsie.
Big. And as Gaston Green takes it to the 23. is that 6 of those 8 quarterbacks changed teams this year. Montana, of course, to KC from San Francisco. McMahon going to Minnesota. Only Humphreys and Rippon are with their teams, the same teams they were with last year. Hebert, Schrader, Hostetler, Berline, all changing. Hostetler going from the Giants to the Raiders, but a .640 winning percentage, 16 wins, 9 losses in his 25 career starts. And that's regular season and doesn't count the playoffs, of course, when he was a big 3-0 in 1990.
Notice also a lot of big names not on that list.
2nd and 7, and the pass is too high, intended for a double covered James Lofton. 3rd and 7. Well, the Raiders knew they needed a new quarterback, and it apparently pretty much got down to Hostetler or Boomer Esiason. And Esiason had expressed a lot of interest.
And Esiason, of course, ended up with the Jets, and Kenny O'Brien went to Green Bay. So that's everybody's represented here in this game.
For Boomer, being reunited with not only a friend, but former offensive coordinator of Cincinnati, Bruce Cosler.
There you saw Al Davis sitting with Jim Otto and Kurt Gowdy joining him. 3rd down and 7 at the 23-yard line. Making the catch, staying in bounds, picking up a 1st down up at the 36-yard line.
Jim Otto, the great center of the Oakland Raiders, as we look once again.
A lot of room by Teague, the rookie. Remember, he got flagged for an interference very early in the ball game, and now he's giving some ground. But if you're going to play corner in this league, I don't care if you're Darrell Green, you're going to give ground to the speed of the Raider receiving corps. They are just too fast.
They're going to take a long look at Teague at free safety, too. Green Bay is.
Here's Green again, the former Ram and Bronco, up to the 42, and you've got a pair of flags dropped at the 35-yard line. Gaston Green, they're going to use him as a change of pace back for the most part. Art Shell telling us yesterday, Bell's the guy. Green for the change of pace, and when we talked about a 3rd down back, he spoke of Tyrone Montgomery out of Mississippi, the brother of the former Eagles back.
Number 41, offense on a takedown, 10 yards, still 1st down.
Spoke very firmly about it, too.
Yeah, there's Montgomery right there on the sideline. More of a quarterback's number than a running back. There is the block on James Willis. That's Napoleon McCallum, and you saw him get the left ankle, and a good description by referee Tom White. That was a takedown.
1st and 20 at the 26, 5:07 to go in the half, 6-0 LA. Green through the middle, and another marker is down as Green gets to the 31-yard line.
And another, looked like Green Bay was across. One of their defensive linemen lurched forward. They shouldn't call offsides in the first preseason.
Offsides. Number 64 defense.
Or holding.
That'll be a 5-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
Or interference.
The game would end 15 minutes sooner if they would just delete offsides from the first preseason game.
You know, it's getting less, though. Haven't you noticed, Dan, with the mini camps? We used to come and do this Hall of Fame game, and things have changed so much. There's a defensive coordinator for Green Bay, came with Mike Holmgren, former defensive back with the Giants. But with the mini camps now, they kind of get started a little earlier and a little faster, and everything seems to come together a lot more quickly.
Frank, I'm not sure it's a question of them starting earlier or the fact that they just don't quit. It's really year-round. Yeah. There's the season ends, and it's see you in a couple weeks when we start our off-season program.
You want to make a coach very unhappy? Well, you just don't live in the area where you're playing.
That doesn't happen much anymore.
They don't like it.
Gaston Green on that last carry through the middle for 6. It's 2nd down and 9. 4:05 left in the half. Hostetler. Pass is a little underthrown, but it is caught by Napoleon McCallum. 3 yards short of the 1st down up at the 44-yard line. Former Navy star McCallum.
Frank, to take that a step farther, the reason in our generation when we went home because we went home to work, because we didn't make enough money playing football to really last the entire 12 months of the year. such is not the case any longer.
No, and I'm glad you put me in your generation, because in my generation, we had to almost walk home.
We're partners.
I was going to say, what generation was this now?
We're a team up here.
It was an eon, right?
I made more in the offseason than I did playing, I can assure you that. I'd be embarrassed to tell you how much.
3rd and 3. We've got flags. Montgomery. They had another brother, Wilbert and Tyrone, Clee Montgomery, who played with the Raiders in the early 80s.
Yeah, Wilbert was one of the best backs I've ever seen play this game.
Pound for pound, not a big man.
Offsides, number 99 defense, 5 yards, first down.
You know, Wilbert was less than 200 pounds and yet rarely ran outside the tackles. Dick Vermeil used to just slam him up between their two big tackles, Stan Walters and Jerry Sizemore, and here comes Wilbert. Wham, wham, wham.
Bunch of times a game.
That was
Good receiver, he could do it all.
Don Davey, who was offside on the last play. Raiders at the 48-yard line. Under 3 minutes to play in the half. There's a fake toss. That buys a lot of time and great protection. And Hostetler lost one. And Gaston Green can't make the catch because the ball floated and James Willis was able to get back and cover on it.
Hostetler wanted to go deep. He was looking for Lofton, and a good move by George Teague, the #1 draft pick out of Alabama. He knocked Lofton off stride, and Hostetler had to come off it.
And there is a flag down for a change.
Hostetler wanted the face guarding call, but that's not going to be called. Those hands have to be waving back and forth to get the face guarding call.
Holding, 67, offense, 10 yards, still first down.
Dan Turk.
Well, what do you do with a guy named Turk?
Yeah, I was going to say.
They yell Turk, and 7 guys hide under their bed thinking the guy's coming to cut them, and all they want is Dan's attention. Good play there by James Willis, the rookie out of Auburn.
Turk the backup to Don Mosbar at center at the 38-yard line now. 1st and 20, and Gaston Green to the 40. We saw a shot of Jim Otto before. It's an amazing thing through the history of the Raiders franchise, Oakland and Los Angeles. It's been Otto, and it's been Dave Dalby and Don Mosbar. The 3 of them through the years have manned the center position.
Well, Jim there about 30 years, wasn't he himself?
Seems like it, doesn't it?
Seems like it.
There is Don Mosbar again.
What's
anchoring
unusual?
The line.
What's unusual about Mosbar is the fact he's so tall. He's 6 feet 6 inches tall, which is uncommon, to say the least, for a center. It's normally the shorter you are, the better leverage you have in getting under that nose tackle. And he's an exceptionally pliant big man.
2nd and 18, and there's a sack. Hostetler goes down in the arms of Bob Kuberski, the rookie from Navy, at the 32. That takes us to the 2-minute warning, and when we come back, Sweetness is with us. Walter Payton from Canton. 6-0, give it to Montgomery, and he sends it up to the 43. You know, when you're the all-time leading rusher and you have that kind of a career, there's no question, you know, someday you're going to wind up in Canton in the Hall of Fame. But now that the moment is here, what about the reality of it, Walter? Your emotions right now?
Well, I guess after my son made his speech in the introduction, I think it all fell into place then. Prior to that, it was basically I was here because of the fans and my teammates who helped me tremendously through the years to get here. But then when I got up there, I felt where this tell you, no matter what you do, the condition and everything else, if you don't get yourself and have some luck, you won't be in there.
Walter, you're not one of those people that is searching for something to do, whether it's auto racing or whatever. You're a busy guy, but you're hopeful that you're soon going to be back in the National Football League, not carrying the ball, but
back when your best running back decides he wants to renegotiate his contract.
Well, you know, we had a policy with the Chicago Bears, you know, in the league, and something that my mom and my dad told me: if you don't want to work, you shouldn't hire out. If you put your name on the dotted line, you have to stand by that to the end of that contract. And today, I don't think contracts mean the same.
Those guys are in trouble if he starts quoting George Hallis.
Oh, yeah. More importantly, do you really want to become the next Mario Andretti? You're serious about this stuff, aren't you?
Yes, I am. We have a race coming up this next weekend in Watkins Glen. I tell you what, it's with Tom Gloyd Racing Team and driving a Ford. It's doing pretty good. And next year we'll be competing for finishing in the top 5.
What's this with the power boats? You driving those also?
Oh no, that was a one-time charitable deal. No more.
We did that for our halftime entertainment.
What are the odds of your car being number 34? Pretty good.
Probably about betting on if the sun's going to rise tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, if you had one thing to say to some youngster who might be watching you today, knows about your career, would like to be a Walter Payton, what would you tell him?
Don't give up hope, because whatever you visualize in your mind, you could obtain physically if you put forth the effort and make the sacrifices. And that's what I tell the kids today. Don't give up. Don't lose sight. Don't lose hold on your dreams.
Great. Walter, terrific.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
And to your son,
Thank
too,
you.
that marvelous little man.
Good for you, Walter.
Okay.
Good for you.
Walter Payton. Nobody rushed for more yardage in the history of the National Football League. The amazing resiliency. Frank talking about the fact he missed only one game in all of those years. And at halftime, we'll take a look at highlights of the induction ceremonies as we come down to the final 54 seconds of the half. 6-0 Raiders. O'Brien lofts one too deep, intended for Jamie Holland. The Packers with one timeout remaining, 2nd and 10 at their own 30-yard line.
I still can't get over the fact that Walter Payton played some of the games that I watched him play and the tremendous pounding that he took.
Well,
he's not a big man.
Well, Frank, you bring up an interesting point. You know, it wasn't until the end of his career when they went to the Super Bowl, that was the first time that he ever had a Pro Bowl offensive lineman on his team. He had some good linemen, but Walter was not playing on great offensive teams. And they didn't have great quarterbacks in a passing game either.
He was making a lot of his own holes.
Here's a wrap around to Edgar Bennett. Picks up 5. You know, when you go back to his very first NFL game, very little to indicate he'd ever wind up here on this day. 8 carries for a net of 0.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be his teammate on a number of Pro Bowl squads with the NFC, and when he walked into the locker room in a room full
Timeout.
of all-pro football players,
That's their third.
everyone just
Montana, and then he lost Young, and still they put together that tremendous drive at the end of the season with Bono.
well, he's a fortunate man. After this play, he's a fortunate man because of the partnership that he's formed in Green Bay with Ron Wolf.
And of course, the Packers with 8 unrestricted free agent signees. O'Brien's pass is incomplete. Not only play in a small market, relatively speaking, that is a micro market, and that tells you all you'll ever need to know about something called revenue sharing.
Yes.
In baseball, it could never happen, at least the way it's structured right now. But in football, with revenue sharing, the Packers can compete with the New Yorks and the Chicagos and the Los Angeles teams.
There's a 17 million plus man right there. Reggie White.
What team be ready, man?
He and Bruce Smith go back and forth, I guess, making the argument who's the most dominating defensive lineman in the NFL.
As an offensive tackle, Dan, which one would you prefer to line up against?
Oh, I'd rather.
3rd and 9, and O'Brien airing it out, incomplete.
I want that guy that's going to get cut next week.
Robert Brooks, the intended receiver. We're down to 2 seconds remaining in the half.
I think, you know, Frank, you asked the question. I think of the two that Bruce Smith is probably the more gifted one-on-one pass rusher. So thinks that Reggie White is the guy who's tops.
4th and 9, barring a flag. This will do it for the first half, and so O'Brien airs it out. Goes up a prayer, and it's not answered. It's knocked away inside the 5-yard line, and that'll do it.
Sit down.
Cassidy, is that her name?
Cassidy, that's her name.
Spell that.
She'll be joining us very shortly, and no, I'm not even going to try to spell it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
On that note, we're going to hop along to the 3rd quarter here. Billy Joe Holbert will be kicking off.
All right. That'll be in her first clip reel.
Right.
Well done, Pancho.
Billy Joe Hobart, apparently the ball had been lined up at the 30 instead of the 35.
I would say the odds of this kick reaching the goal line, even up here, are relatively slim.
And Hobart kicking off in place of the injured Jaeger, bounces one down to the 7-yard line. This is Alan Pinkett, the former Oiler, trying to win a roster spot with Green Bay, getting shoved out of bounds up near the 33 by Brian Jones. And there is Jaeger. Very minor injury. It's a calf strain, and he'll probably be kicking again when the Raiders resume action next weekend against the 49ers. Ken O'Brien remains in at quarterback. If you joined us late, Brett Favre played the first quarter. Then O'Brien came in the second. He'll play the third. And then we'll take a look at Ty Detmer and possibly Mark Brunell, the rookie, in the fourth. From the 32-yard line, they start on the ground. And this is Darrell Thompson. Thompson was a #1 draft choice in 1990 who's been off injured and really hasn't done much. And now it's his time. It's kind of now or never for him. They brought in Stevens, but Mike Holmgren still feels that Darrell Thompson can be the guy and can be the starter.
With an eye back, as Mike told us yesterday at Minnesota, that kind of works against him a little bit in the Holmgren offense, but he is a talented young man that could adapt maybe to the two-set backfield. He's going to get a long look.
On 2nd and 10, catch is made underneath by Ron Lewis. Short gain. Green Bay trying to upgrade its running game. Last year, Vince Workman led the team in rushing. He went to Tampa Bay, and they brought in Stevens. And preseason action will continue in prime time. It's the first of 3 Monday night preseason games we will have for you. Cleveland, Washington on the 9th. And then following that, we'll have San Francisco at Denver, and then Chicago at New Orleans. And our regular season opener is Labor Day night this year, and it's a beauty. Dallas at Washington. 3rd and 9 from the 33-yard line. A little screen, and obviously that bit of audio came from somebody wearing a white uniform as Aaron Wallace comes in to break it up.
Nobody could blame him if it came from Ken O'Brien. A screen is designed to allow the rushers a delayed run at the quarterback. This was not very delayed, and that could have been an easy touchdown for Aaron Wallace. And Napoleon McCallum willing the ball into his hands at the receiving end of this punt.
That's called imaging.
Brian Wagner with a wobbly kick.
Spell that.
Yep. He imaged it right into his hands at the 33.
Yeah, but only imaged himself about 4 or 5 yards.
Yep. And brings it back to the 41-yard line. 1 minute and 40 seconds into the third quarter with the Raiders on top, 6-0.
That kind of like see the ball, be the ball, feel the ball, the whole.
You ever see the downhill racers, top of the hill? They get in that crouch and take themselves down through the course.
Well, I wonder what Ken O'Brien was imaging when he saw about 4,000 pounds of Raiders coming at him.
Can you image at a blackjack table? That's what I want to know.
If sheer thinking about it got it done, I wouldn't have ever lost in it.
Vince Evans is the new Raider quarterback at the 41-yard line. And he gives the ball to Montgomery, who moves through the middle. Vince Evans, still around in his 14th year. At one point, he was the Bears starting quarterback in the late 70s and was handing the ball off to Walter Payton. Last year, he came on in the final game of the season, you'll recall, that Saturday game in December, and led them to a big win against the Washington Redskins.
You know, I think he's played in every league they've had since he came around. He's still playing when some of these kids were in grammar school that are out there now, these rookies.
It's been a remarkable career when you're 38 years old, never been a superstar, but yet obviously through strength of personality and performance make yourself valuable enough to coaches to last that long.
2nd and 8, Grady looking for a flag. Teague there with blanket coverage, and it was legal.
And that's, that's really being complimentary to Evans to say that about him, that at this age and not ever having been a Dan Marino or a John Elway or a Randall Cunningham, to still be such a valuable asset that coaches want you on your ball club.
Somewhere along the line, he never really played with a good football team. a top football team. It
No.
just happened to work that way. He was there in the weak years with the Chicago Bears, later went to Denver, and then he was with, well, remember the World Football League? I forget where there was somebody there, and never really on top with the Raiders.
3rd down and 8. And Evans with an arm around his ankle still gets it off. A nice catch made by Grady. And Grady picks up a 1st down.
A rather athletic move by the aging one.
Rather.
Grady a moment ago made a good move against defensive back George Teague on a couple of plays ago. And this time, good move by Grady and turning the corner back around. Angles it back to the sidelines. Meanwhile, lots of problems in the backfield there for Evans, but he comes loose with a real fine move. Look at that.
14-yard gain. Hostetler played the first half. Haas went 8 for 13 for 43 yards. And this is Tyrone Montgomery, who Archell tells us will fill the role of 3rd down back if everything works out for the Raiders this season, picking up a 1st down. So Hostetler done for the day. Again, a look at what he did. And he'll clearly be the #1 quarterback. Then you've got a situation where you've got Evans as a backup and naturally Todd Marinovich. And what's going to happen with Todd Marinovich? And that's one of the big questions the Raiders will again have to answer this year. We'll probably see him before the day is over. But they would like Marinovich to basically mature off the field is what it amounts to. And if he can, he's got the skills. And he'll be the guy because he was a #1 draft choice a couple of years back. And then they've also drafted Billy Joe Hobart.
But this is a man who had the starting position. They benched Jay Schrader, gave the job to Todd Marinovich. And am I incorrect in saying right now that Vince Evans is the #2 quarterback of the Los Angeles Raiders? It appears to be. And as you mentioned, with Hobart now in Los Angeles, Todd Marinovich, I think, is fighting for his football life in a Raider uniform.
From the 31-yard line, the catch is made by Willie Gault for an 8-yard pickup.
I think it might be a fight for his professional career life. He was not an outstanding performer, to say the least, but the Raiders, when he was given that opportunity, and the Raiders have a history of staying with their #1 draft picks, and perhaps longer than most teams, but it's really going to be a difficult return for this young man.
A likable kid. You really don't be around him and not enjoy his company. But a great deal to prove in a massive undertaking.
On 2nd and 2, Tyrone Montgomery stopped at the line of scrimmage for no gain.
Were you guys surprised when we talked about Hostetler fitting into the Raider system as far as the way they throw the ball downfield and Jeff being a movement guy? Marinovich is kind of reminiscent of a Hostetler. He's good on his feet. He's good rolling left, rolling to the right. Not a classic drop-back quarterback, which is what has always seemed to be what the Raiders wanted to play quarterback. I think that's why there are a lot of raised eyebrows when Al Davis drafted him.
I just honestly don't think he has the same arm, though. He did not show the arm strength of a Hostetler. Never did he in the opportunity he had to perform.
On 3rd and 3, Evans is on the money again, this time to Sam Grady, and another 1st down.
Speaking of arm strength, Evans had a lot on that one. Drilled it into Grady.
I guess maybe the one thing we can say about Vince Evans is, even though he is 38, from a physical punishment standpoint, he is a very young 38.
That's true. He's never been injured a great deal. He was a good athletic quarterback all those years ago at USC, and he remains that way. He can hurt you moving the ball around. That final game last year against Washington, when he played so well, he did a lot of it just on athletic ability.
Kevin Smith, who was a tight end at UCLA and now operates out of the backfield, takes the ball to the 6-yard line. What's the old phrase? Somebody gets up 37-38 in his advancing 30s, as opposed to what? In his declining 30s?
I wish I was in my 30s.
Let's don't bring it up.
There's Max Montoya.
Speaking
37. Yeah, he's 37 years old. And his return is really going to help the Raider line if Max can stay healthy.
2nd and 5, Evans still sprightly in his advancing 30s. But that one is caught out of bounds by Willie Gold.
Oh, if he has that down a little bit at 6, and he knows it.
Yeah, he kind of sidearmed it, rolling to his right and having to throw it back, and the ball floated on him a little bit, but it almost looked like Willie got both feet in.
Willie almost made a great move.
Yeah, I guess.
There's the first one came down out.
You're right. You're right. The official right there. But you're right. That's a touchdown if that ball doesn't float on Evans.
Upon further review, oh, never mind.
Upon further review, there is no further review.
They're not even going to test it this year.
Yep. 3rd and 5 from the 6-yard line, and nothing there for Gaston Green. On a pretty unimaginative play as Jeff Brady makes the tackle, and now the Raiders will have to settle for a field goal attempt as Hobart again in place of the injured Jager comes out to try to make it 9-0.
Billy Joe of the missed extra point, and backup quarterback who's having to do the kicking, so don't run to the bathroom yet.
Also, he's kicking off a very soft field with high grass, and if you've ever kicked before, it's not easy.
Hobart, a quarterback, a place kicker, and this is a guy who was drafted by the White Sox and played this spring for their minor league club as the snap is dropped by Jeff Gossett, whose pass to McCallum is incomplete, so don't blame that one on Hobart.
Oh, and that was a good snap from center. That ball went right into Gossett's hands, and he just muffed it.
So a blank for the Raiders. Green Bay takes over. It's still 6-0 Los Angeles.
But isn't it?
I thought I had a pretty good career, and I might warrant going into the Hall of Fame, but I don't worry about things I can't control, so I really didn't think about it a whole lot until I became a finalist a few times, and after that I thought about it, and finally I'm here.
Okay, and you were what round draft pick?
I wasn't drafted.
Well, you're a free agent.
Free agent, yes.
But you got $12,500, $750 bonus. What did you think about that at that time?
False start.
I was happy to get an opportunity, really. A lot of guys were drafted that I knew, and I was happy to get the opportunity, and hopefully I would make the football team, and I did, and the rest is history.
Were you happy when Don Shula said, "Hey, I want you"? I guess was it Don Shula then?
No, I was there year before Don.
Yeah,
Joe
sure,
Thomas
Don
made the trade for me in Miami, and while I was there, Don came in 1917. He had me lose the weight. That's when my career took off.
Larry, you look back at your old Dolphin teams. You guys, along with the Steelers and the Raiders, could almost establish your own wing across the way there in the Hall of Fame. That's got to be a source of pride to you to have played on those great Dolphin teams, especially the undefeated ones.
That's true. Losing 2 games in 2 years, too. We were a great football team, and you're right, it was the Dolphins, the Raiders, and the Steelers doing 17. We really dominated that era. And but Pittsburgh came and won 4, and we won 2, but I think that's 17 is no 4 at all.
Now you're a coach now, Larry. You're North Carolina Central?
Yes.
And you've been in coaching for quite some time. Is coaching what you thought it was while you were still an active player?
Not really. I didn't worry about things too much then, but now I worry a whole lot. But I enjoy coaching. I enjoy working with young people. I coached 1 year in the World League with the Ohio Glory, and the league folded, and I started with North Carolina Central in May. And hopefully I haven't seen all my players yet. I didn't even have a spring training, so I don't know what it's going to be like, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I doubt many of them will talk back. I think that's a certainty.
Well, I'm a player's coach, so they may talk back every now and then.
Yeah.
But I'll handle things. I can control it.
Larry, the most vivid memory you have of 1972 would be what?
Well, it has to be the Super Bowl, because winning the last game of the year, we knew all 16 games were going down the drain if we hadn't won that game, and we won that one, and we went down in history.
You sure did. You went down today. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Larry Little.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you.
An offensive lineman. God love you.
You'll be there one day, Dan.
All right.
Larry, congratulations again.
Meanwhile, Joe Kelly just recovered a fumble for the Raiders, and thus they have the ball back, and Vince Evans gets flushed down and throws the ball away. And it's incomplete, and that enables us to get into a situation here where this year, when a quarterback is flushed out of the pocket, if he throws the ball near the line of scrimmage, intentional grounding will not be called. It's a new rule. There's Jerry Seaman, the head of the officials in the National Football League. A lot of the defensive linemen are very angry, of course, figuring it'll cut down on sacks, but Jerry feels it'll probably create maybe 15 fewer sacks all season long, or about 1 every 15 games.
And I was surprised at that number, Albert, when he brought that up yesterday. That it shouldn't take a whole lot of bonus money away from defensive linemen, one would think.
Well, it's a perfect illustration there. The pocket broke down. He was outside the pocket, and you can understand their thinking. And I'm a firm believer that this is a physical game, and everybody on the field is going to get hit and should get hit, including the kickers. But why have that in there where the quarterback, as part of the game, wanting to get rid of the ball, must take a hit? It doesn't make any sense. This is one of those rules that I think is just long overdue and makes a tremendous amount of sense. And anyone who argues against it, I don't think has thought it through.
Again, to reiterate, the quarterback has to be out of the pocket, as Evans has his pass intended for Galt broken up by Tracy Sanders.
And a lot of moans and groans out in Los Angeles. Greg Skrepenek a little slow getting up, the former two-time All-America at Michigan. And he's holding his hip or lower back on the right side. And there's a lot of moaning and groaning, I'm sure, as to whether or not this was interference.
A little behind Willie Galt.
The defensive back in that sense, in that illustration right there, Tracy Sanders making a play on the football. Contact before the ball, very close.
Well, this is 4th and 10, and with Jeff Baker hurt, they go for it, and right up for the touchdown. Charles Jordan makes the catch, takes it in.
And Vince Evans,
what a play he made,
as he has done so often in his career, makes something happen.
That's why he's still around.
Yep.
He's still a great athlete. Bounced off one defensive player, moved around, bought time for the receiver, and very calmly and coolly fired it in.
Well, clearly a case, if Jaeger is healthy, it's a 41-yard field goal attempt. Instead, it's a 24-yard touchdown.
Yep.
And Charles Jordan, who played only at a community college, not at a full 4-year university, played at Long Beach City College, scores the touchdown. Holbert, with Gossett holding, converts this time. And Los Angeles now leads Green Bay 13-0 with 5:17 to play in the third. Guys from San Francisco with them, went out and got a Nolan Cromwell, a John Gruden, and the others to form a very young and very good staff in the eyes of many.
Cromwell, a world-class decathlete.
At one point, sure. Jamie Holland downs it in the end zone, and so at the 20-yard line will the Packers begin their next drive. 5:10 to go in the third. 13-0 Raiders. Drafted that year in the first round: Elway, Blackledge, Kelly, Eason, O'Brien, now with the Green Bay Packers and playing here today, and Marino. Of those 6, 4 of them have been to Super Bowls, and yet collectively they are 0-8 in Super Bowls, as O'Brien takes over at the 20-yard line. And his pass is right into the hands and out of the hands of Dexter McNabb. 2nd down. On the subject of quarterbacks, Dan Fouts will be joining us in the 4th quarter, one of the new inductees, and also Bill Walsh. But that class of 83, of course, so much publicity as you look at Bill Walsh through the years and so many great performances, but it is astonishing that on 8 occasions a member of that class has quarterbacked a Super Bowl team, but never on the winning side.
Well, even a beautiful woman can have a blemish on her skin. I'm not sure that if I was any of them in being 0-8 in the Super Bowl, I wouldn't hold that against them too much.
We got to put a list up there of quarterbacks who have never been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you think of Elway and Marino.
We'll still be rolling it.
Yeah. I'm hard pressed to be overly critical of anything those guys have ever done.
No, I'm just saying, basically, it's just an anomaly.
Oh, it is.
It's a crazy thing to get there 8 times, and of course, 6 of the 8 are the 3 losses by
Illegal
Denver.
use of the hands to the
And
head.
the 3 by
Number
Buffalo.
76 on the offense, 10 yards, still second down.
For which some people have put a great deal of blame on John Elway's shoulders, putting him in the position of being a loser. Fran Tarkenton had that mantle placed upon him for Minnesota's failures in the Super Bowl, and I think he can safely counter with saying, "Hey, I threw for 45,000 yards."
2nd and 20, and there's another pass into the hands of a receiver that's dropped. This time it's Darrell Thompson. It'll be 3rd and 20.
Didn't blame O'Brien for asking, can anyone catch it?
Yeah.
Even this remote crowd, which is kind of, I guess, not really behind one team or the other, is beginning a little, getting to get a little antsy here with people dropping the ball. A murmur goes through the Fawcett Stadium throng.
Named after John Fawcett, who is an educator here, president of the Board of Education for Canton Schools. Not after Farrah Fawcett, as Dan tried to convince me a couple of years ago. Here's Thompson.
Could only have gotten you to go on the air with it. Would have made my entire year.
Would have made Canton's entire year.
Mike Holmgren, a native San Franciscan, with the 49ers, of course, and at one point, I guess, before he became the head coach at Green Bay, he might have been the highest paid assistant coach in the league.
About a half a dozen teams after him, didn't he, Al? We talked about.
He was the man to get.
The Jets.
Brian Wagner's kick, fielded at the 47-yard line by Charles Jordan. Tackled immediately. Raiders will get it near midfield. 4:22 left in the 3rd. It remains Los Angeles 13, Green Bay nothing. Clint Eastwood back as Dirty Harry, and that's tomorrow night in prime time on ABC. The Deadpool, 9 Eastern and Pacific, 8 Central Time. Clint Eastwood in the Deadpool tomorrow.
Let's go.
Good job, Al.
Thanks.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Rehearsed all night.
As Frank would say, riveting. Riveting.
Double riveting. Kevin Smith picks up about 7, takes it to the Packer 46-yard line.
Speaking of big folks, Kevin goes about 255. He used at a tight end also. Raiders over the years have not been afraid to move a running back into the tight end position. They've had a lot of success.
Green Bay dominating in terms of offense in the first half, but the Anthony Smith interception run back set up the only score, a Raider touchdown. And now the Raiders have turned it around behind Evans here in the 3rd quarter. 2nd down and 4.
And now
Tyrone Montgomery.
Say hello to Brett Collins. Tyrone's back in the huddle saying, look, guys, one of you mind picking this guy up for me? That was a good hit by Collins, 2nd-year player out of Washington. Check this out. He just puts the helmet right on the shoulder pad of Mr. Montgomery. His feet kept going and the upper part of his body stopped dead.
Brad, a 2nd-year man out of Washington.
3rd down and 3, and Gaston Green surges forward, tries to get that 1st down, and let's see where they mark it. At the 43-yard line is where the stop is made by Don Davies.
And this is a style of football near and dear to Art Shell's heart. The Raiders have a 13-0 lead, 3 consecutive running plays. His offensive line will be bigger and stronger than virtually every defensive line they'll be up against. And let's just mash it out. The clock continues to run. We have the ball, they don't. And this has been Raider football, at least the plan for Raider football for decades.
He enjoyed scrimmage in the Cowboys the past week because he said they were so quick. And it gave us a lot of good work.
And what was his quote? He said it gave us a chance to work against their quickness.
Play game, offense.
And it gave them a
5 yards,
chance
still first down.
to work against our bulk.
He didn't understate it, and particularly picking up Gerald Perry. He spoke in nothing but superlatives about Perry at left tackle. Of course, left tackle being such a key spot. How many franchise left tackles were designated this year, Dan, as franchise players?
Oh, like at least half a dozen.
Yeah.
Delay of game, and that's the first call we've had for delay of game today, as Montgomery takes it to the 36 for a first down. The only reason I bring up that delay of game is that you're liable to see more of those calls earlier in the season. One of the rules changes this year is to go to a 40-second clock instead of a 45-second clock. In the past, a play would end, the play clock would be reset at 45, and you'd have that much time to get the next play off. Now they'll reset it only to 40, and the league hopes to not only speed up the game, but to get in 4 or 5 more plays and thus increase the scoring marginally.
It'll be a key factor on long passing completions and long passing incompletions.
It was a first and 15. It's now second and 4, and now a first down for Montgomery.
That's where the problem will come. The team that attempts to throw the 40-yard pass downfield, the wide receiver post haste is going to have to get back. We've got an injured Packer down on the field, but he is not going to be able to jog back to the huddle. He's going to have to run back to the huddle.
That's Irvin Randall, to whom they are attending, with 1:06 remaining in the third quarter, still 13-zip. Really, as you can see for yourself. And play will resume. First down at the 26. We were talking about the 40-second clock, and then in a situation like this is what they call an administrative stoppage. The clock is set to 25, and then as soon as the official signals the ball is ready for play, after, let's say, a timeout or an injury, change of possession, they start it from 25.
Thank you, Professor Michael.
You're very welcome, sir. Professor Irwin Corey, reporting from Canton. On first down, the catch is made by Darryl Hodge, another of their fleet receivers, who gets to the 13-yard line. His first catch of the afternoon. Hobbs from Pacific. So you've got Brown and Wright and Galt. If they sign Ismail, of course, he'll be very much in the thick of things. Lofton, Grady, Jet.
I wonder what it's like to come from a program where maybe you run a 4.5 40 as a receiver. You're the big dog on campus, and all of a sudden you get to the Raiders and you're the 7th fastest guy.
You wouldn't get to the Raiders.
That's Greg Robinson, a rookie from Northeast Louisiana, carrying the ball.
And with wings on your feet.
Oh. And rocket someplace else. You have got to have one strapped on your back to head downfield for the receiver.
That's the end of the.
Glad you cleared that up.
End of the third quarter.
I thought I better.
Back after this more ABC station. Annual Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, and Dan Dierdorff as we begin our 24th season of Monday Night Football. As usual, begin it with the Hall of Fame game, the ceremonies taking place before the game. And then what used to be really the official start of the NFL preseason, but this year it winds up as the number 2 game. Last night, Detroit and Buffalo got things underway with the Lions winning 14-7. Here, Evans back on 2nd and 14 and throws complete to the 4-yard line to the rookie Greg Robinson. And he lunges forward to the 3, and that should be enough for a first down. Tim Hawk making the tackle, and we've got a shaken up LA Raider.
Is that Robinson still down on the ground?
It is. Robinson trying to win a spot on the roster. That's going to be tough to do with Bell and Green and Smith and McCallum and the others. Back in a minute. From the hillside.
Just imagine years ago, Dan sitting up there having his little picnic lunch.
Hey,
I bet you did, didn't you?
You imagined right?
Yep. Price was right. First and goal. Robinson helped off. After the last play on first and goal now from the 3-yard line. Vince Evans lofting one into the end zone, and the catch is made by Harrell for a touchdown.
Vince Evans has looked terrific. He has had smoke on the ball. He has had touch on the ball. He's made some extraordinary, outstanding athletic moves. Good man to have around.
Evans playing the second half after Hostetler played the first half. We'll probably see Marinovich on their next series, but he's given LA a 19-0 lead going on 20 pending the point after. Billy Joe Holbert to attempt the extra point.
Confusion there. We need enough folks.
Play clock is down to 1, and we're going to get a delay of game.
Which, of course, is meaningless on an extra point try.
Well, with Billy Joe, we don't know.
That's right.
This may have moved him out back in it. This may have moved him out of his range.
But remember, in the first half, he kicked one into the end zone, kicking off.
And then he kicked another one to about the 30.
Here comes Todd Pete lumbering out to occupy the right side of the Raider offensive line.
All of it.
All of it, Bill.
So it's the equivalent of a 25-yard field goal attempt here for Holbert, and that one is blocked.
Another ode to Billy Joe, I'm afraid. Another blocked ball.
Right off the bridge.
And that's right where we're headed.
Dan Fouts with us in the booth when we come back.
Maybe he can help us. Please.
14-14 remaining in the fourth quarter in Canton, Ohio. Raiders on top 19-0. Vince Evans leading them on 2 impressive drives here in the fourth quarter. We're going to talk to
I wonder if Vince
brand
Evans,
new Hall of Famer Dan Fouts in a moment.
I wonder if Vince Evans can kick extra points and field goals. He's done it all.
Here's
Other than
Holbert.
that. Oh, look at this.
And for the second time, he sends one into the end zone for a touchback. Jamie Holland will down to 10 to the sick end of the crowd. Dan Fouts had...
Well, fortunately, they're true, but when you ask Don about those stories, he has a terrible memory. He never remembers any of them.
Dan, you are the rare exception getting into the Hall of Fame, and everyone gets up there and tells Super Bowl stories, and you're not in that position. And it's a rare tribute to you that, of course, you had the numbers as a quarterback, but still, you're one of the few people that are there that really didn't play in a Super Bowl.
Well, I think you were talking about apples and oranges here, because a Super Bowl is a year or 2 or 3 years, but a Hall of Fame is a career.
Right.
And there's so many guys that are deserving that haven't won Super Bowls or haven't even played in it, that maybe that they should be given a second look.
You are in our business, broadcaster with CBS. Does that fill the bill for you? Not being a player anymore, getting to stay around it in that respect?
Absolutely.
I know it does for me.
It's absolutely the greatest. There's so many times when I was down on that field on 3rd and long, deep in our own territory in the fourth quarter, and we needed some points. I'd look up and see you guys up here. Well, that looks pretty good job up there.
Yeah, well, it's in the genes, of course, because many of you know Dan's father, Bob, was the longtime radio voice of the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, and I got to sit up in the booth with him many times and keep statistics for him, so that was a great experience as well.
You know, we were talking yesterday at lunch about Monday Night Football. Don Coryell was standing there, and I we were talking about, did it make any difference to be playing on Monday night? And Dan agreed, of course it did, and he turned to Don and said, of course, what was Don reply? They're all big.
Yeah, every game is big to a coach, but as a player, there's nothing quite as special as playing on Monday night.
Hey, let's be serious. Don Coryell didn't know if it was daytime, nighttime. He didn't know. He was oblivious.
Yeah, he knew one thing, though, that we were going to score some points.
You recall any one of those many great nights on Monday night you had, Dan? Any of them that stand out particularly in your mind?
You know, Kenny Anderson and I hooked up pretty good one night when I think we both threw for over 450 yards, and it was a 50-to-something game. It was always a special thing because it seemed like every time we played, it was meaningful in the season or in the schedule, and we always had the great crowds in San Diego. It's a lot of fun.
You think you can sometimes look back on that career, and Dan alluded to it a little bit. There was absolutely little or no thought given to getting a defense together. I mean, you had to win a game 38-33, 47-42, or something like that. Had you a little defense at all, I mean, the Super Bowls he alluded to would have probably been there.
Well, I have to disagree with you, Frank, because our defense was solid. What happened is that we kept changing coordinators, and coordinators changed people, and that's what happened. We had stability on our offense with Coryell, but every once in a while we would change our coordinator.
On the subject of quarterbacks, Todd Marinovich is the new quarterback now for the Raiders. Dan, you stay in the game, obviously, now as an analyst. You get around the league. In terms of quarterbacks in the National Football League, at this particular moment, the best in your mind?
My favorite, I think I'd rather answer it that way, Al, is Dan Marino. I love his style. I love his flair for the game. He plays with a real passion. And I think what he has done has been remarkable in just 10 years. He's averaging almost 4,000 yards a year throwing.
Jeff Hostetler with the Raiders. How do you see that working out, Dan?
I think it's going to be good for the Raiders. Hostetler gives him a quarterback that has experience in winning football games, and he's at the stage of his career where he's really going to make a difference for the Raiders and for himself personally.
Could you see yourself, Dan, doing this fourth quarter from this booth while the three of us leave?
We're going to bring Kurt Gowdy in for the play-by-play, and you and Walsh.
Bill Walsh is coming, and we feel like we're the last of the hostages because once this is over, we are free to go.
And you are free to go, sir. We
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure, boys.
So well deserved. So many memories.
Thanks, Danny. You're sure now? One more time.
New Hall of Famer Dan Fouts. And we talked about Dan's Monday night games. The Chargers have not been on Monday Night Football since Dan Fouts was there, but they will be on twice this season. We've got San Diego at Indianapolis in late November, and then Miami at San Diego in late December.
And then we're also here looking at another long-time absentee from Monday Night Football out on the field, the Green Bay Packers, that we'll see this year. They play the Kansas City Chiefs early in the season. What is that, like the third week, the third game?
No, that's November. We got Kansas City against
third week
Denver,
in November.
Yeah, right. Here's Gossett punting. And sending it out of bounds at about the 22-yard line. So Green Bay will get it back with 12:13 remaining in the fourth quarter. The Raiders leading the Packers 19-0. Ken O'Brien played 2 quarters, 10 of 24 after Brett Favre, who will be their starter this season, played the first quarter. And now we're going to look at Ty Detmer. He was a 9th-round pick in '92. He, of course, as a junior at Brigham Young, won the Heisman Trophy in 1990. 1st and 10 from the 23-yard line, and he hits Robert Wilson for a gain of 8. But the Heisman is a funny thing. I mean, sometimes you'll get a guy who is a guaranteed big star, a Bo Jackson or somebody like that, winning it. Other times you'll get the Detmers, or, as is the case this year, a Gino Torretta, a low draft choice with Minnesota, fighting for a spot on his team.
Well, Detmer is not all that big, 6 feet, 190 pounds. I think the question's always been the strength of the arm, even though he said, what, over 50 NCAA passing records while he was at BYU.
Also in the past, so many times the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback was an option quarterback, or he was the quarterback of his football team because he possessed extraordinary running abilities, and as a sidebar, he threw the ball as well. But Detmer, though, you can't say that about him. He came out, he was a classic drop back passer at BYU, and Frank hit on it. It's just a question of size and arm strength as to how durable you can be in the NFL. It takes a big gun to beat defensive backs in this league on the out pattern.
3rd and 1 at the 32-yard line. And this is Robert Wilson, and he may have slithered his way under one of the Raider defensive linemen, John Baker, and A.J. Jimerson, the linebacker, to pick up the first down. We'll see when they unpile. It's possible the Packers will keep 4 quarterbacks. Mike Holmgren yesterday saying that Favre obviously, O'Brien obviously is insurance. Then they've got Detmer, and you've also got Mark Brunell from the University of Washington. And this year with the expanded rosters, even though you'll still only be able to dress the same number as you did last year, 45, it's conceivable a lot of teams will carry 4.
Well, we asked Art Shell what he was going to do, and he instantly replied that he's going to carry 4 quarterbacks.
Well, Mike Holmgren also was rather outspoken about the fact that he felt that Detmer could play in the National Football League. He didn't hesitate at all when we asked him that.
Now, Mike's very enthusiastic about his football players. Remember how late in our conversation he actually apologized. He said, I know I'm making it sound like everybody I've got is really, really good. But he's, boy, he instantly strikes you as the kind of a coach that you'd love to play for.
Well, here he is down 19-0, and it's preseason. What does it matter? It doesn't matter the regular season at this point. You're going to go for it at your own 33-yard line, and it's Detmer who plows ahead, and he has enough for the first down with 10:15 remaining in regulation.
Staying on at 19-0. They love their football here. Week-long celebration for the Hall of Fame. They get about 100,000 people here, Dan.
Oh, the parade, several 100,000 people.
Detmer scrambling and then throwing complete for a first down up to the 44-yard line into the arms of Mark Shimura.
Several 100,000 people watch the parade. It is a festival downtown where they have fireworks and rib burn-offs, and people travel in from the entire Midwest to be a part of this week. And then, of course, people from the respective cities come in, the cities of the inductees, to be there in their celebration. And it has just grown and grown and grown. And I think it's just an ongoing demonstration of how popular the National Football League is in America. It is America's #1 sport.
Here's Alan Pinkett picking up 2 up to the 46-yard line.
You know, they have had their 3rd expansion of the hall, which is just right across the grandstand you see across the field, and now they have 5 buildings, and they're going to have kind of a reality theater there, and where you will be able to witness a team on video or film getting ready to go out on the field, and then they'll flip the screen around, or flip the wall around actually in this new theater, and you'll get a look at the action on the field. And there is a look at the Hall of Fame. Those first 3 buildings were the initial buildings, and then they've had 2 other expansions.
And that's what it's going to look like after their expansion.
There's another first down on the pass caught by Mark Clayton, the longtime Dolphin who played earlier in the game and now is back in. Mark Clayton, he and Dan Marino hooking up 79 times for touchdowns, most in the history, the greatest pitch and catch combination in the history of the National Football League.
550 career receptions.
It just seems hard to believe that the Marks brothers are no more.
Nope. Mark Duper in Cincinnati, Mark Clayton in Green Bay, Irving Fryer now down in Miami, Mark Ingram down there as well.
Free agency has brought about a lot of no mores. How about that front 4 of the Philadelphia Eagles?
I like
One
it.
remains.
I like it, though.
Catch is made at the 41 by Jesse Anderson.
I think that the time we have to invest in August, figuring out who's playing with who and who's moved here and et cetera, I think the excitement that it creates in places like Atlanta and Green Bay and Detroit, where Pat Swilling has signed on, and of course what's happened in Kansas City with Joe Montana, I think that it's well worth it. I think that some new faces and some new places is a plus. I don't think it hurts at all. And there's some doom and gloom people out there that say this is the end, and I disagree.
I agree with you, Dan. I think the essence of sport is unpredictability, and this will make it as unpredictable as ever.
And it certainly has bolstered the economy.
It's bolstered the bank accounts of a lot of free agents, especially offensive line free agents.
So you're making a comeback, right?
No, but I'm glad that the most important people on the field are finally being recognized.
Did Gerald Perry go from about 400,000 with the Rams a year ago to well over $1 million this year as offensive left tackle for the Raiders.
So Harry Galbraith, who came from Miami under those circumstances.
And he did nicely.
Oh, and Don Shula, I'm sure, was sorry to see Harry go. He was a solid player for the Dogs.
3rd and 5. And the catch is made at the 24-yard line. That's Chris Holder taking it to the 10, run out of bounds there. First down, Green Bay.
Perhaps that's the kind of arm that Mike Holmgren has seen in practice that will tell him that Detmer can make it in this National Football League. Running to the right, throwing back across his body to the left. That's not easy to do.
Green Bay attempting to get some points to be representative with their yardage. They've been up and down this field, but they've not yet rung the bell.
So that move, running to the right, back across, and right on target.
Detmer is perfect, 5 for 5 for 60 yards. That last one covering 28. Alan Pinkett. Pinkett had some pretty good years with the Oilers, and then he went over to New Orleans last year and was hurt in training camp, and now he's been picked up by Green Bay, and he's trying to win a spot on the roster.
He had major knee surgery in first preseason game for New Orleans, and it's quite a loss because he was coming off his best year at Houston.
Holding, number 52. Hold him down, 10 yards, still first down.
Tom White beginning to enter into the analysis arena here with the takedown. He pulled him down. Getting descriptive holding calls by our referee here today. I wonder if he's got a union card for that.
We've always liked that. We've been very outspoken. We like those explanations.
You better believe it.
And Detmer goes down at the 32-yard line.
It has been a strong performance by the Raider defensive line. They have been all over the place, disrupting things for the Packers offensively.
Elston Ridgel picking up the sack there.
They're moving right down the depth chart for both teams. Now is when you get a lot of misplays. And
remember in the beginning of the game,
matchups.
Anthony Smith was strong, Chester McLaughlin.
2nd and goal from the 32 of the Packers. As you can see, the only team to have reached the playoffs just once. Who wide open is Robert Wilson. I have never seen a man that open. He was open by 20 yards.
Somebody lost him across the defense. He just disappeared, and
Across the county.
All alone. Oh, and he knows he's all alone.
That's where at the end of the play, you just look for that trap door. Is there some way I can escape from standing here in front of all these people?
Somebody trying hard to make a football team, too.
3rd and goal. Packer receivers have been dropping passes all day long, especially the back. And that's incomplete. Ron Lewis, the intended receiver, and it will be 4th down and goal. Dan Land covering on the play with 5:05 remaining, and the last of the Hall of Fame inductees to grace our booth will be with us very shortly. Bill Walsh going in today along with Chuck Knoll, Larry Little, Walter Payton, Dan Fouts.
I think that's probably the proper way to put it, too. The word's been spoken about Bill Walsh around here this week and for many, many years. Gracing our booth, the right way to put it.
Rich Thompson, who backs up Chris Jackie, at least during preseason, booms one through a 49-yard field goal for a guy who you would think would have very little chance to make the team. But as is the case with a lot of kickers in preseason, you do something like that, somebody else takes a look at it.
He's on display.
Jackie will be the guy for Green Bay, barring injury. But after a 49-yard attempt that sails through by a good 7 or 8 yards, maybe Thompson winds up with somebody else on
more than
opening
that,
day.
Al is kicking off the grassy field, soft, a lot of pretty deep grass, not the easiest thing to do.
Right. So Green Bay scores with exactly 5 minutes to play, 19-3. There is the incumbent, Chris Jackie. And we are delighted in just a moment or two to be welcoming to the booth Bill Walsh, who goes in today, 10 years the coach of the 49ers, 3 Super Bowls. Bill, I've always known you to be very reflective. Can you share at this point your emotions as you are a Hall of Famer now?
Well, I'm in awe of this broadcast team. I really am. And thanks for putting me on, Dan.
If you like.
Thanks for putting me on for, you know, when the ratings are going to be real high. I mean, I've got a huge audience right now.
We got you closer to prime time than anybody else. Look at it that way.
The audience is building, and
I know that. Everybody's you held this is the second game, huh?
I believe it was.
You got everybody coming in now.
I think it was alphabetical.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope it was.
So the demographics are much better at this hour.
But it was fun to watch you up there, Bill. It was well deserved. It had to be also a wonderful feeling. And I know seeing you at the luncheon yesterday, just your observations yesterday, it's been a very moving time for you.
Really, well, I couldn't really think about it when I was about to be presented. Really, the gravity of the whole thing. I couldn't even think about it. Just had to think of somehow get through it, because it's incredible. I'm in awe of all of this. I think I'm included with all these other people, like this guy, or this guy will be certainly. It's just incredible. I can't believe in my life experiences this could happen.
Yeah. Kind of unusual too for you. Part of your class is a young man, Dan Fouts, that you had a great deal to do with when he first came up. You were the first man to work with him as a professional.
Well, Frank, Dan and I sort of were lost souls at the same time. I left the Bengals being passed over, and Dan was struggling with the Chargers. His career looked rather hopeless. We got together, he got started, and then first John Terrio really made a difference.
That was Marinovich completing a pass out to the 40-yard line. Bill, when somebody goes into the Hall of Fame, a lot of stories come to light, and one of them about you reflecting back on your years with the 49ers was 1980, and the story came out this week that you were very close to saying, I'm not going to come back in 1981, the year, of course, you won the Super Bowl. Was that accurate?
Well, the forces at work on you when you lose 8 straight after losing 14 the year before. I mean, I just didn't think I could get it done. I mean, it was really a crisis point in my life. And I wasn't ashamed of myself. I thought I'd done a credible job, but how could I ever make it? Then we beat the Giants, and we beat the New England Patriots. We beat the New Orleans, won the Super Bowl the next year. So,
you know, Bill, Walter Payton and Dan Fouts and Larry Little got into the Hall of Fame as players. You seem to be the luckiest of them all, because what got you into the Hall of Fame was coaching, and you're still coaching. You're still doing what you love to do. You're just doing it on the collegiate level now. It seems to me that you've got the best of both worlds.
It seems like it, Dan. It really does. I'm at Stanford, and we take only the best students, but we have an excellent football program, and it's really the place to go for, where's the camera? The place to go for a young man. But,
boy, you know this business far too well.
But it really is. It's a great atmosphere, and I can coach the same football I've always coached, so it's terrific.
Got a good team this year, don't you?
Well, not necessarily. It's
Lou Holtz. It's Lou Holtz.
What did Bob Greasy say yesterday? It'll be like taking candy from a baby.
Oh, well, we're going to hope we can win more than we lose this year, but a couple of years will be real good.
And you have Notre Dame very early this year.
Notre Dame just after Colorado, which makes it a beautiful combination.
Bill, we've got to ask you one. We've got to get your opinion on one thing, and that's Joe Montana in Kansas City. How much football does Joe have left, and how productive do you think he can be in a new system?
Well, the system's the same.
With Paul Hackett.
And coaches help. Joe's helping coach it, which is fantastic. And Joe's really enjoying that, I'm sure. He can throw the ball as well as ever. He can avoid people as well as ever. I think he can run effectively on occasion. He can do just about all the same things, but there's always that history of injury at age 36 or 7 that can show up. Minor injuries where you begin to maybe miss practice, then miss half a game, then can you play this week, that kind of thing. So he's going to always be battling that. But in the meantime, he could take them all the way. By the way, you give me a faulty headset here. Sabotage.
What do you think? I mean, you take a look at the great coaches in history and the disciples of the people like Paul Brown and George Halas through the years, and now the Bill Walsh disciples are coming in, the Mike Holmgrens and the Dennis Greens and the rest. Your feelings about those fellas?
Okay. Well, I'm being cut off. They're in my ear. In NBC, they never went in your like.
Our man Kenny Wolf saying, we'll get the answer when we come back from the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, I want.
The Hall of Fame game is being brought to you by the new Dodge, a division of the Chrysler Corporation, by LA Tech Light Gear. You've got to own the light if you want to own the night. And by Pringles, so fresh, once you pop, you can't stop, it says here. We had asked Bill Walsh his feelings about some of his disciples now, the Mike Holmgrens and the Dennis Greens coming in and following in your footsteps, as it were. Your thoughts now?
Oh, I'm elated with the thought of, at this stage of my career, helping younger guys get their careers going. And I've got 5 people out there. There are 2 or 3 others. Sherm Lewis and Ray Rhodes here today with the Packers should be head coaches. Mike White should be one with the Raiders. But in the meantime, Bruce Coslett saying, well, I'm really excited about it. And I asked Mike, please score 3 points today. I mean, as I went around in the car, please give me 3 points somehow.
You get a kick out of watching it, Bill, as football almost has become, you look at football teams and all of a sudden they're using the 49er offense, the high percentage pass, not afraid to throw the football, as safe as the run. The things you brought to it, you see it all over the league now.
Yeah, you do. I understand with the Bears and the Broncos and some other clubs are using it. Well, I think it's great, but it's the football this guy loves too, because you're going to have a blocking fullback, a blocking tight end. You're going to run the ball effectively and throw effectively. You're just not taking high-risk kind of plays and using them over and over.
What would Bill Walsh and Eddie DeBartolo have done with free agency the way it's turned out to be in 1993? That you had such wonderful success with the draft. Here you have now an entirely new new source of talent. It would have been fun for you, I would imagine.
It would have been fun, but I'll tell you, it takes different kinds of people too. You need personnel people that really know business, MBA kind of people, and that really statistically study personnel and salaries and everything. You have to have experts in that field.
You can't have talking with Carmen Policy and Eddie yesterday. The way they're approaching football, Dan, is totally different now. They have to know that free agent market. They have to be ready to go. They study how many thousands of players.
Their numbers have to be just right, boy. And the coach is going to have to do a different job. He's going to have 4 years to work with rookies. They're going to have to play right away. Then he's going to have, hopefully, unfortunately, people on his team that are thinking of leaving while they're playing for you, or even have planned to leave. It's a tough deal. It's going to take a little more science on the part of the coach, and the front offices now are going to have to do their job. On occasion in the past, there's been a lot of ceremony with it and not much happening, but now they have to really be involved.
After all the negatives we just heard, why do I think it would have been right up your alley?
Well, it's fun. The give and take is terrific.
Yeah, I can see you being a major player there.
Yeah, you can play that shell game and maybe get away with it.
The adapting. Bill, in the 10 years you coached, not only did you win 3 Super Bowls, but 9 of your teams were highly competitive. Only in one season, 1982, where you're not in the thick of things. As you look back, is there one of those teams, one of those years you'll remember most fondly?
Oh, it has to be 1981, the first Super Bowl. I mean, that's the one, because we made the transition with a lot of the guys that had been losing for years, and they made themselves winner. Of course, we added Jack Reynolds, who was a beauty. Fred Dean, who was terrific. Dwight Hicks became a great player. I can go on and on.
And you were going back to play Cincinnati.
Back to Cincinnati to play that game. And it should have meant something, but it didn't. You know, you're getting so involved in a game, you don't remember your history with people until it's over.
You didn't remember?
Yeah.
It was sweet revenge, and I'm sure you loved it.
Yeah, it was great.
Bill, it was terrific.
Thanks for having me. And you guys are improving every week. You really are.
Thank you so much.
The give and take, good. Although I don't like this mess in front of me. Somebody's picking on
late in the fourth quarter.
Okay. See you later.
Hey,
Okay.
Congratulations, Bill. You and the entire class of 1993.
Terrific.
Wow.
For all of us.
He doesn't like the clutter of our booth here.
He's right. Meanwhile, as we get ready to sign off here, everything is okay on the Kathy Lee hotline, I take it?
Everything is fine, and I'll stay in touch, as they say.
Okay. We will be in touch with you next, a week from Monday night. Cleveland against Washington, RFK. It's the preseason opener for each of those clubs. As this one winds down, Green Bay has the ball at the 39-yard line, and ignominiously, Detmer falls down, but gets up and auspiciously completes the pass to Mark Clayton. But we have an injured Packer. Paul Hutchins is down back at the 32-yard line. Rookie from Western Michigan.
A 350-pound plus rookie who appears to have hurt his left leg, and there looks like they're up in that knee category, up in that knee area. He's listed at 335. Believe me, he is in excess of 350.
You hate to see that. Final few plays of a preseason game.
A project player, but someone who can have a future in this league. Remarkably light on his feet for such a big man. Looks like he's got a battery pack under his, is that a piece of his shoulder pad that has descended there?
Maybe part of a rib
I guess,
pad.
I guess he's got
flak
some
jacket type of thing he's wearing.
Man, a guy that big wearing a flak jacket, that just doesn't seem fair. You can't put a flak jacket on your knee, though. That's the problem, no matter how big, how strong. It doesn't hold up sometimes if somebody falls on it or you twist it the wrong way. We saw Reggie White on the sidelines there. Guys, can you remember any time in the past where two players changing teams has created quite the stir as Reggie White going to Green Bay and Joe Montana going to Kansas City? It's
for all the right reasons. I mean, what it takes away from Philadelphia and what it gives to Green Bay, what a tremendous shift.
Hey, there's a good sign.
This is good to see.
Yeah.
Reggie White will make a major difference. Clyde Simmons, of course, led the Eagles in sacks a year ago, but you wonder, as good a player as Simmons is, how good would he be without a Reggie White on the other side? We'll find out. Reggie always threw the double coverage.
Detmer. And that's incomplete, throwing it behind Jesse Anderson, the intended receiver, somewhat at the expense of the game, but you'll understand the special circumstances here since we have a chance to talk to all of the Hall of Famers. We didn't have a chance really to look that closely at, for instance, Marinovich while he was in there and talk about Todd very much, but he wound up 3 for 5 for 31 yards, and Detmer along the way here is 7 of 10 for 103 yards. That's caught. Mark Clayton makes the catch at the 25-yard line, and that's a first down, stopping the clock with 1:20 remaining.
Showing some real skill and moving around himself. He's good. Slipped and fell a moment ago. Got a completion for a first down. Chased out of the pocket, gets another one.
These two teams will meet in the regular season in Green Bay on December 26th. All day long, there have been drop balls, mainly the running backs. This time it's Clayton.
What date are they meeting? November 26th, did you say?
December 26th.
December 26th.
Day after Christmas.
Ooh, that'll be a little, that'll be quite a change for the Raiders.
I would think so.
Making a little trip to Wisconsin and almost January conditions. Pack the long undies now, boys.
Every time you think of late season in Green Bay, everybody thinks back to that one game, the Ice Bowl game.
I worked that game. Remember the trumpet player came out to rehearse. They took him to the hospital with a trumpet attached to his lips.
Oh, yeah.
9 below it was.
I did that on a set of monkey bars.
Recently.
Yeah, last week. That's a horrible feeling.
You know.
Is that what you're carrying around? I wonder what I was a little crowded up here.
I was a dumb guy.
Right here in Canton.
I must have been 8 or 9, yep. I was coachable, though. I only did it once.
You know, you think back to that Ice Bowl game. It's an amazing thing. The last time the Packers had back-to-back winning seasons was the Ice Bowl year.
Are you kidding me?
The last time with Lombardi's last 2 years, they won each of the first 2 Super Bowls, and Green Bay has not had back-to-back winning seasons since.
The last year was only the second winningest season at 9-7 in 20 years for Green Bay.
Well, and once to the playoffs, only once in 2 decades.
That's
so
amazing.
There are tremendously high expectations in Green Bay this season.
Extraordinarily high expectations. We're talking Super Bowl expectations, and in some people's minds in Green Bay, anything less than a trip to Atlanta will be a failure. And that might be that is unrealistic.
Well, they ended on such a high note, even though they had that loss to Minnesota that kept them out of the playoffs, but they had won 6 games in a row.
A reminder to stay tuned in most of the country for your local news, which will follow, and then World News Saturday. Away at the bottom of the hour for those of you specifically in the Eastern and Central time zones.
I want to clarify what I said. When I say it's an unrealistic expectation to assume that the Packers certainly are capable of going to the Super Bowl, and it could happen, but they have not yet proven themselves in playoff competition to be really a Super Bowl legitimate candidate yet. This is a team that has to find that confidence that in a critical ball game, in a critical playoff situation, that they can move to that next level at the level at which they play. And until they prove that, they're a question mark.
And that was that game, that final game last year against Minnesota, and they lost 27-7. They were something like 21st rushing the ball. They've improved themselves certainly in the running game. They were 23rd defensively in the NFL. They've improved themselves, no question, with Moss and Reggie White, #1 draft picks in the secondary. So they have improved on both sides of the ball, and it'll be interesting to see how far along they move.
Traffic flowing smoothly on I-77 as we get ready to depart the scene.
As we plan our run to the airport. Is that what you're trying to say, Al?
You got it.
I'm going home to mommy.
Northbound traffic looks good.
Dave said meet him on the inside.
Sharp and his pals on their way back to training camp. They train at St. Norbert College, or that's what they utilize as their facility, very close to the city of Green Bay itself. The Raiders will, they head back to Oxnard, California, after training with the Cowboys in Austin last week.
Boy, Austin to Oxnard, that'll be a weather shock.
That's the story from Canton, Ohio. 19-3, the Raiders win it. We'll talk to you a week from Monday night.
We thank you for your